Welcome and thank you very much for being here. In this class, we are going to discuss about Elaine Showalter's famous essay, Feminist Criticism in the Wilderness. I'm sure you must have studied this essay many times and certainly you must be liking it. For your convenience to remember, I have divided the class into five parts. So let's start with one by one. I start with the context of this essay. Remember, it was published in 1981. At the time, feminist criticism was what you may call undergoing a lot of changes. And wilderness is a phase which is not good in one sense of the word. But in this essay, she uses it as the struggles of women throughout history. That is the kind of struggles they have to go through. If they ask what does wilderness mean in this essay, it means the struggles women have to undergo throughout history. And remember, this essay is also marks a shift from conventional way of looking, and she invents a term which is gynocritic, and she says what is the purpose and how to study and how to have a new language. Now we go on to the second part, which is a central argument. There are four arguments put forward by Elaine Showalter in this essay. The first one is she speaks about there are two types of approaches to feminism. The first one is feminist critique and the new one is gynocriticism. Feminist critique, as you know, according to Showalter, is concerned only with exposing the misogyny of literary texts and patriarchal ideology. So far, could be written by men or women. Only look at how it is misogynist. But gynocritic is different. It involves an exploration of a new female tradition. It is what you may call bringing a new language to write their own tradition and literature than responding to a male author. It's like a new call for a new beginning. And if you look at that, there are three key themes repeatedly comes. The first one, as I already told you, the division of two trends in criticism. First one is feminist critics that is already looking at what happened, but she says it is good. It is every criticism starts like that. There's nothing wrong, but it's time to assert ourselves, to re-emerge ourselves with something new. And she speaks about what you may call a literary tradition, the importance of studying women's literature as a distinct body of work within its own tradition, themes, and structures. So we have to study women's literature from its own tradition than comparing it with anything else. And she says that feminist criticism needs an autonomy. Okay, it need not have to tie up with other criticisms. It must come up with an autonomy so that it can be independent of male literary standards. Now we come to the divisions. As you know, the essay is divided into six subheadings. Just for your reference, first one, she speaks about pluralism and the feminist critique. Second one, defining the feminine, gynocritics and the women's text. Third part, she speaks about women's writing and women's body. Women's writing and women's language is the fourth one. Women's writing and women's psyche, fifth one. Women's writing and women's culture. So it's easy to remember the last four parts. It's women's writing, body, language, psyche, and culture. The first one is pluralism and feminist critique. And the second one is defining the feminine, gynocritic, and the women's text. Then you come to the summary. I have divided the summary into two parts for the convenience of the screen, because if I include every point, it will be too short for you to read. So she speaks about the past, actually how feminist criticism has been so far doing. And she says the errors we committed and how we have to move forward. And she says that we have to go through a phase of wilderness. No, at the end, they is reinventing themselves. And it is the problem with feminism is that it lacks a theoretical framework, and more importantly, it is tied to other criticisms. Okay, so that is why I said she's asking for an autonomy, and she says that we have reached a stage where we must have an awakening and we must move forward. And she speaks about two modes, which is feminist reading, focus on the understanding of women's image, how women are represented in literature, and gynocritic, that focus on women as a writer and their unique writing traits. And she emphasizes that women's writing must be women-centered, independent, and intellectually coherent than trying to imitate somebody else. And she says it's very difficult to define what is female writing. Then she comes up with the idea of gynocritic, how to study history, styles, themes, and that. And what is gynocritic is very important. She says there are four models to identify the unique elements in women's writing. The four things. One, she must look for biological, linguistic, psychoanalytic, and cultural. And she compares literary tradition to that of a childbirth, associating it with the womb, not with the penis, breaking away from traditional metaphor of literary paternity. So she reverses the process of creation, and she also speaks the need for a feminine language. According to her, patriarchal language can never ever be used to express female experience. So they have to. We need a new language. That is what she says. Actually, it's a language of the oppressor, and you cannot use it to write yourself. So identify a new language, and she says that. Yeah, she also says that there is a new need for feminist psychoanalysis to differentiate gender identities. So far, we have been following the Freudian, patriarchal. We must have feminist psychoanalysis. And she says that women's culture is not a subculture. And there is what I may call, there is women's experience is something different. There's a duality in nature. And she also says women are not a muted in the group. And at the end, she says that we must have our own language, our own style, our own theory, and only then we can take to a promised land, not by following or criticizing the male text. So that is how she ends. So thank you very much for watching once again. I hope you got the summary of it. So I'll see you in the next class. Until then, study hard and take care. Bye bye.